The installation of our officers for 2012 is not just a formality in which individuals take an oath to oversee the association business. It is a commitment of time, leadership, and involvement in our association goals. Our goal is to promote and develop business and industry in our region. This may entail services, information, legislation, networking, and above all, the sharing of ideas, methods, and techniques. The bottom line being everyone benefits from each other. Our board of directors also agrees to give of their time and expertise to benefit our membership. They are leaders, motivators, teachers, and believers. They believe in our mission to promote the growth and excellence in which we strive daily. The following officers have been nominated. Chairman, Atul Govil, Altadis USA. Vice Chairman Jeff Fitzgerald, Drake Cable Tech USA. Second Vice Chairman, Dennis Gable, Tredegar Film Products. Secretary, Steve Redlick, Polyplastics. Treasurer, Ken Stolaric, M&T Bank. I present this slate as a motion for election. Can I have a second? Anyone on the question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations.
At this time, I would like to present to the incoming chairman, Atul, the gavel. Congratulations.
Thank you, Andy. Distinguished Commissioners George Halkovich and Gary Hess, guest speaker David Taylor, award winners and graduates, and dear guests and members of the MAEA team. Welcome to the annual installation of officers for MAEA on this wonderful spring day. I'm very happy to be here and honored to serve the cause of manufacturing in Northeast Pennsylvania alongside a group of talented volunteers in this coming year. A little bit about myself. I started working in McAdoo about 10 years ago at Altadis USA. It was my first job in manufacturing, and I have enjoyed every minute of it. And for this, I'd like to thank my plant manager, Skip Calviero, and all my wonderful colleagues here and at the plant. Meeting other professionals involved in manufacturing and the dedicated and enthusiastic team at MAEA has made me realize how manufacturing is the strength and lifeblood of our great nation. It is my earnest hope that more manufacturing businesses will flourish in our area in the near future. Over the past year, Andy Falco served as chairman of the board and dedicated a considerable amount of his time and energy. This, in addition to all his responsibilities as the GM at Hydrotech Pumps in Nesquehoning. His hard work and dedication will be an example for me. And I look forward to working with Andy in the coming year. To recognize Andy's leadership and dedication over the past year, MAEA would like to present the Chairman's Award at this time to Andy.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. As I pondered over the weekend what words I might speak today, I came across in a chamber publication a synopsis of the mission and goals of the association and the council. And I'd like to paraphrase for you my combined mission for those two groups. The collective efforts is to help partners and employers by providing programs and services designed to develop a qualified workforce and to foster an atmosphere of cooperation with members and others that create a fertile business environment without losing sight of the importance of community involvement. And in the past year, I'd like to cite just 3 examples of how they carry that out on a daily basis. In terms of preparing the workforce, I'd like to talk about the YES program. While the YES program has been around for a number of years, it is a vitally important program not only to the council, but also to the youth of this community, as it prepares them and gives them skills to enter the workforce or college or any situation where they need to present themselves professionally. Recently, the YES program has expanded its reach to outside of the traditional classroom setting to settings like offering the training to people who are pursuing their GED. And in addition to the Department of Corrections for people who are incarcerated and trying to learn skills so they can blend back into the community at large upon their release. In terms of preparing a business climate, a better business climate, the legislative efforts developed by the association through the legislative breakfast and roundtables provides members an opportunity to meet with legislators on a more personal basis, ask questions, present issues to these legislators, so the legislators at the state, local, and federal level can better understand the issues which directly affect the ability of everyone to do business. And the fruit of some of those labors can be seen in things like the recently signed trade agreement with Colombia and Panama, which was directly affected by the lobbying of the association and the National Association of Manufacturers as they worked on the federal level to get that put through to provide opportunities for exports from businesses within the county or counties that the association is affiliated with. And finally, on the community involvement level, I would talk about the fantastic event which was held last summer in Origsburg at Schaefer's Harley-Davidson, the Flight 93 Memorial Ride from originating at Schaefer's and in other portions of the state and terminating at Shanksville in western Pennsylvania, obviously the site of the crash of Flight 93. It was a moving event with helicopter flyovers, 21-gun salutes, participation by local youth, singers, and band members from the Blue Mountain High School, a fantastic event which paid tribute to the heroes of Flight 93 and remembered the tragic events of 9/11. So those 3 small examples, I hope, can show you how the organizations live each day and work each day to make the community a better place for all of us in this room and all of us outside this room. Further, I'd like to thank the staff of the MAEA and all of the board members for all of their hard work throughout the course of the year. The staff has gone through some flux, but I think come out stronger in the end with the people that are on board now, and I think it's going to be a great staff to carry forward for the coming years. The board members and the executive committee members were challenged as part of the strategic plan to become more involved in the organization. And to a person, they've all stepped up to do that. A lot more involvement by board members in committees, in roundtables, and just in general participation throughout the organization. So hats off to everyone on the board and the executive committee. And in closing, I would like to wish Atul well in his role as chairman, and once again implore all board members to continue their efforts to provide support, guidance, and of course involvement in the organization. And I ask that everyone who's not involved to please get involved so that we can grow the organization and create the business and manufacturing environment in this region that will serve us well in the years ahead. Thank you one and all for your time and attention. And please enjoy your lunch, and we'll continue the program immediately following.
The lunch, we'd like to carry on the program, and we'd like to have our guest speaker. give us most presentation or speech, and I'd like to introduce him. David Taylor is Executive Director and First Vice President of Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association, a statewide trade organization representing the interests of manufacturers in the state. Dave is a graduate of Dickinson College in 1990, where he earned his bachelor's degree in history and dramatic arts. Since then, he has been at the research department of the Republican National Committee in Washington, D.C. Before joining EMA, he worked in D.C. office of U.S. Senator Rick Santorum. He has served on the boards of directors of Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association and several other organizations. In 2012, Pennsylvania Governor Tom Corbett appointed him to the Governor's Manufacturing Advisory Commission. Dave puts his education in dramatic arts to good use in the community as the president of the Gamut Theatre Group, home of the Shakespeare Company in Harrisburg, and the Popcorn Hat Players Children's Theatre. Dave lives in Harrisburg, PA, with his wife and daughter. Please welcome Dave Taylor.
Thank you very much. Thank you all very much for having me back. And it's great to be with you. And as was mentioned, I am a big Shakespeare buff, so let me start. Beware the Ides of March. You've been warned. So, yes, I mean, the work that we do on behalf of the manufacturing sector in the state capitol, I often describe as attempting to minimize the stupidity in Harrisburg, and we'll never eliminate it, but we can certainly strive to minimize it, and I think we're making some progress in that direction. And the first thing to discuss, and I wanted to make this a conversation, open the things up for questions at the end, to respond to concerns that maybe I didn't speak to in the course of my remarks. But just to survey the waterfront, talk about what's happening in the state capitol right now and what we expect to play out in the course of 2012. Obviously, if you don't get the big things right, the little things don't matter. And the biggest thing that happens in state government in the course of a year is the annual state budget, and that Governor Corbett, facing another difficult budget year, is put forward a spending plan of $27.14 billion, which is holding a line on last year's level of spending. This would be the first time that back-to-back state budgets held steady or declined in over 40 years. So these are extraordinary circumstances that require extraordinary action. Governor Corbett's been taking a lot of grief. We'll see what the final budget product looks like, but the collections are underestimates, and ultimately you've got to be able to find a way to pay the bills. The money has to come from someplace, and he is adamant that he is not going to take more money out of the private economy by raising taxes on all of you folks. And in fact, one of the components included in Governor Corbett's budget is continuing the phase out of the capital stock and franchise tax. Now, under the original capital stock and franchise tax phase-out plan put forward by Governor Ridge in the year 2000, the Commonwealth was to stop collecting that tax January 1, 2009. I'm sure you folks have noticed you're still paying that tax. But as it stands, with the can having been kicked down the road a couple of times, that the CSFT is to end on January 1, 2014, and Governor Corbett and his team are adamant that we will all, in fact, live to see that day. And here's the question: well, why is the CSFT such a big deal? Most states have either a tax on business income or a tax on business assets. They don't have both. If they do have both, they have you pay one or the other. In Pennsylvania, we have both. We collect both. We have among the highest rates in the country in both. And of course, that because the capital stock and franchise tax is a tax on business assets, you pay that money, you owe that money to the government, whether you made any money that year or not. So we are 2 clicks away from at long last getting rid of the capital stock and franchise tax. And especially in the context of these difficult budgetary times, I think it speaks very well of the governor and his commitment to the business community and to a more prosperous Pennsylvania that he is holding fast to that pledge. Now, that being said, with that praise for Governor Corbett taking all of the responsible steps for managing the current situation, not letting it get worse, not just reverting to the past practice of having politicians figure out what they want to spend and then coming up with our money to pay for it. There are still some very alarming concerns that are on the horizon, and that my friend John Eichelberger from Blair County and State Representative Steve Bloom from Cumberland County have put together a presentation that they're shopping around, calling it a 4-alarm fire, warning about Pennsylvania's financial situation. The 4 alarms that they raise: debt, pensions, corrections, and welfare. 4 areas that are going to be pressing on the state's fiscal circumstances in the immediate future. That we have essentially maxed out the state's credit. We have to the point where just payment on the debt, interest on the debt, the minimum service payment is $1 billion a year. That we have a pension crisis that's going to be weighing on every level of Pennsylvania state government, not just the Commonwealth, but also the school districts and the counties and local governments. That we have had unsustainable expansion of expenses in corrections and similarly unsustainable growth in welfare spending. And all of these elements are going to have to be addressed if we're going to build a more prosperous Pennsylvania for the coming years, decades, generations. And none of this is going to be easy, and none of this is going to be fun. So I guess the most sobering message is we're not going to get through just a couple of tight budget years and then simply revert back to the way things have been. The business as usual in Harrisburg needs to officially end. And I know in this venue before you've seen my friend Matt Bria from the Commonwealth Foundation. This 4-alarm fire presentation is a project from his policy shop, and so I recommend that to you at CommonwealthFoundation.org. So the other big legislative stuff that's moved so far this year, the largest piece of all has probably been the comprehensive bill about the natural gas industry and Marcellus Shale. That it's been a long, difficult process, but mercifully it's finally over with. And it's a sort of a messy compromise, but at least now the industry has some degree of regulatory certainty. They know what the environment is going to look like, which hopefully will facilitate further investment in that large growing industry, which I would say is probably the biggest positive factor keeping Pennsylvania's economy afloat and keeping our unemployment level at below the national average. Of course, the element of that legislation that got the most attention is the local impact fee to be levied by the counties, if they so choose, on the natural gas industry to pay for the additional burdens that are placed on local services by this rapidly expanding industry. Now, Governor Corbett and other policymakers in Harrisburg, pro-growth, pro-development public officials, are looking to the energy industry, not just natural gas, but certainly being led by natural gas, as being the engine that's going to grow Pennsylvania's future. I don't know if folks heard about the gas comes out of the ground different ways in different parts of the state. You heard about the wet gas versus the dry gas? Somebody had to explain this to me. It was kind of a revelation. The up on the northern tier, like up in Bradford and Tioga County, that the natural gas, when you bring it out through the hydraulic fracturing, it comes out with very little byproduct. and they call that the dry gas. So because that requires less processing before it can be used as fuel, that's why the industry likes to drill there. But it's a sort of a continuum, it's a spectrum. And so when you go, follow the Allegheny Mountains all the way out to west of Pittsburgh, that out there and then into West Virginia and Ohio, the gas comes out of the ground with a lot, like a heaping helping of these byproducts, benzene and ethylene, and all these other things. And so because those byproducts come out in such volume, it's like an additional product that you can put in a separate pipeline and sell. So the wet gas is desirable because not only do you derive the natural gas for fuel, but also you have these other chemicals which are themselves feedstock for other manufacturing processes like plastics and pharmaceuticals, for example. Now, there is going to be, in the very near future, an ethane cracker, a big factory to process this natural gas, the wet gas, and get these byproducts out of it to put into the other pipelines. And there's a competition between Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia as to where this massive facility is going to be located. And so, for when you think about public policy in Harrisburg, the decisions that get made in the state capital that affect the cost of doing business, we need to get our act together to continue to improve those fundamentals so that we can get the investment that is going to be an engine of growth for the future. So if we land that ethane cracker, that will be a positive sign that Pennsylvania is moving in the right direction. On the lawsuit abuse front, as was mentioned before, we accomplished the reinstatement of the Fair Share Act to get rid of the deep pocket rules. The deep pocket rule of if you're 1% responsible, you can be on the hook for 100% of damages. That finally, after many years of delay, was successfully accomplished, but that's only the beginning. There's much more that needs to be done in that area, and that there are two issues that are in play right now. First of all, in the State House, that there is legislation to eliminate venue shopping, to give to take the rules that were put in place for the doctors and hospitals under the medical malpractice reforms of some years ago, which have worked, which have reduced filings by 40%, and take those reforms and apply them across the board to all different kinds of lawsuits. So I would ask you to please ask your state house legislators to support venue reform, and the House has already passed and the Senate is awaiting action on a bill it's called benevolent gesture, but what it really means is it's allowing a medical professional to just say, I'm sorry, when a patient or family experiences a bad outcome, for the medical professional to be able to act like a real human being instead of lawyering up. That expressing regret, contrition, apology, that itself would not be admissible in court as an admission of guilt. Doesn't limit anybody's right to discovery. It doesn't do anything else. All it does is just give that protection in that moment to that physician to be able to express regret and apologize, because many times lawsuits are driven by that very human vulnerability that people were disrespected. And of course, that when the doctor seizes up and walls himself off, well, that's because he's afraid of getting sued. So at least if we can have that one common sense reform, it's already on the books in other states, that will be one more small victory for legal sanity in Pennsylvania. So for your state senator, please ask him or her to support the apology legislation. Darlene, how am I on time? I'm good? Okay, I'm going to go on just a little bit longer, and I'm going to open things up and take questions. One of the other, this is the last sort of specific issue I'll talk to, and I'm going to describe a couple of other efforts that are going forward with, again, minimizing the stupidity in Harrisburg. But one of the reforms we're attempting is just mercy on the taxpayer and reducing the cost of government. As everybody in this room knows with your businesses, with the pressures that are on you, everybody's got to do more with less. and government cannot be held harmless from those economic realities that all the rest of us are laboring under. With taxpayer-funded construction projects, there's a set of rules that falls in place, and it's called the prevailing wage. And actually, my main problem with prevailing wage is that it is not the wage that prevails. You would think the prevailing wage would be, the average, market-based wage in a particular location, but it's not. It winds up being the Philadelphia union wage, and so you have to pay the white elephant price of the Pennsylvania Convention Center at every single public facility, whether it's a school, whether it's a local government building, or any other taxpayer-funded project. You wind up paying these massively, jacked up above market costs. And we're trying to reform this prevailing wage in a couple of ways. First of all, the threshold at which it applies has not been modernized or updated for inflation since John Kennedy was alive. So since 1961, the threshold of $25,000 has been in effect, and we just want to adjust that for the cost of inflation, which would bring it up to about, not quite $200,000 before that rule would apply. We also want to get specific job classifications. As it stands now, the law is open and ambiguous as to who falls into what category, and so if somebody carries lumber, and carrying lumber is a job that it would be included under the work of a master carpenter, you have to pay the guy carrying the lumber the wage rate of a master carpenter. Well, that's insane. We want to pay people fairly, but let's pay them for the work that they actually do, and in order for businesses to comply with the law, let's just get formal, specific job classifications. And the other reform, and again, this is kind of wild. We need to go back to the far distant past of 2009. I'm not sure if anybody in this room can remember that far. Back when we thought Tiger Woods was a really great guy. Back when Charlie Sheen was still making new episodes of 2.5 Men. I know, it's a reach to go back that far. But in the dying days of the Rendell administration, that the governor changed the rules where before road construction fell under prevailing wage, but for local governments just filling potholes, that kind of maintenance work did not. Well, they changed the rules, and so now fixing potholes is 40% more expensive than it used to be. And so we want to change the definitions back to the way that they used to be in that long ago of 2009. Again, mercy on the taxpayer, just common sense, reducing the overall burden of government on the taxpayer. So with those couple of issues, let me just mention a few more things. Say again? I'm out there? Okay. Darlene knows. So I'm honored that I get to work with Darlene on the Governor's Manufacturing Advisory Council, working with the Compete PA Coalition to reform business taxes. We're working with the Pennsylvania Steel Alliance to try to build a bridge between labor and management to advance a pro-production, pro-growth agenda that helps everyone. So I'm sorry that I burned up all of my time, but as ever, thanks to all of you for having me. Grateful to be your guest. Grateful very much for Darlene and her team and having such a wonderful ally for my organization in the Manufacturers Employees Association.
Thank you very much, Dave. Well, as you can see, our speaker's perspective on legislation and the impact of government in all ways in our lives. Much of it is good, but there are also some things that can be improved, and that's one of the focuses of MAEA as well. We now go to the 2011 HR Professional of the Year Award, and this is going to be presented or moderated by Doreen Rushton from Boston.
Hello Hello, everybody. I'm very excited to be able to recognize two very deserving professionals for the 2011 HR Professionals of the Year. Our first recipient is Jack Halleck, and he is the HR manager at Michael Foods. Jack Halleck has all the qualities a great HR professional must possess. On any given day, he can be dealing with an employee's personal issue 1 minute, benefits claim the next, and then a recruiting strategy for a critical job the minute after. While making decisions, Jack considers the needs of both employees and management. He protects the individual as well as Michael's Foods culture and values. Jack is also the co-chair of the Northeast PA Food Processing Industry Partnership. Among many accomplishments, his leadership has helped create the Qualified Food Worker Certification training program for individuals interested in working in the food processing industry. Jack is always willing to collaborate with other companies to address common workforce needs. He understands that a better educated workforce with advanced skills means a more competitive company, which in turn creates a stronger state economy. He is an active board member of the Luzerne Schuylkill Workforce Investment Board, even traveling to Harrisburg on February 24th, 2010, to provide testimony before the PA House Labor Relations Committee in support of House Bill 2230, which amending the Workforce Development Act, providing for industry partnerships. In addition, Michael Foods is the recipient of the 2010 Governor's Award for Workforce Excellence. Employees expect HR professionals to advocate for their concerns, yet they must also enforce management's policies. Jack easily handles this delicate balancing act and has won the trust of all concerned. He puts his heart and mind into his job as the Human Resource Manager at Michael Foods, and the immense pride Jack has for the human resource industry and profession is easy to be seen by all. Our other recipient is Elaine Harkins, and she's the Regional Vice President for Human Resources at Providence Community Services. Elaine Harkins is a talented and well-respected professional who possesses exceptional traits and skills used to enhance the field of human resources. Elaine is well respected by her peers, and her insight and knowledge as her leadership role for selecting resource-related work groups aimed at understanding human resource issues affecting Providence Service Corporate's 11,000 plus employees. Elaine is responsible for and controls the human resource functions found in 6 different and distinct operating companies, which comprise the Northeast region of Providence Community Services for slightly more than 3,000 individuals. It is essential for Elaine to be well-versed in not only legal aspects pertaining to differing state labor laws, but that she is also knowledgeable in regulatory and compliance matters which vary from state to state. Her area of responsibility transcends into operations found in Michigan, New York, West Virginia, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, and Texas. In addition, Elaine is responsible for overseeing the regional payroll function, the implementation of electronic employment-related records, and acts as a quality control checkpoint to ensure compliance with mandated employment-related standards that are contained in the various contracts that Providence Service Corporation operates. Join me in congratulating Elaine on her
Courtney, do you need a picture of them facing that way?
Oh,
Pretend.
Pretend, okay. How was that?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am greatly honored to be nominated and chosen as HR Professional of the Year, and I thank everyone who had a part in making this a reality. To reflect on where I started my career in human resources over 30 years ago, with an employer of 35 people, and to be where I am today on a much larger scale, with overall responsibilities of making decisions which have an impact on the lives of 3,000 people, is just amazing to me. I can't help but think, where did all the years go, and all that has transpired in these years? The many turns and bends along the road from then to now presented their share of challenges. But regardless of the challenges, the changes, the growth of business, the experience and the education I gained along the way, the number of the employees, the complexity of the business environment today compared to back then, and the numerous laws and rules and regulations which hover over the business community and the workforce. It all boils down to this. To be a human resource professional, it is always trying to create a climate which emphasizes the importance of people and treating them fairly. It is about people working together as a team, sharing time and talent to help each other make it happen. It is in that working relationship that the best work is accomplished and common goals are met. It is always to persist on and promote an environment of mutual respect and dignity among peers and subordinates. It is always to be insistent on doing things right, but more importantly, always do the right thing. It is to face situations each day, to come up with solutions, and to solve problems in good conscience for the betterment of your employer, but also to make it a better place for every single employee. I would like to end by saying that once upon a time, I was offered a challenge by a man whose name is Frank Milewski. Frank is the Regional Vice President for Providence Service Corporation. Frank believed in me and gave me the wonderful opportunity to prove my value. I thank him immensely, and I graciously accept the award.
Thank you. I wasn't sure I was going to get an opportunity. I will keep it short. But, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm reflecting back over the years. Many in this room I've interacted with, both professionally, through past employers, through, community involvement at work. Deb Heim from our plant is here, and I thank Deb for being here. But it, becomes apparent that all through the walks of life, if you have great people around you, these kind of accolades seem to be almost natural, because it's the people that surround us that make it possible, okay? So I just want to make sure I made that point. Having a manufacturers association that Darlene runs and been involved for years, fantastic organization. They really take their mission seriously, and I am so appreciative of that. The folks at ATECO, can't say enough. It was mentioned about the industry partnership. I got to tell you, a little bit nervous in Harrisburg in front of all those folks, but Dave Schultz from ATECO sitting next to me, and we had our opportunity to talk about the importance of industry partnerships as it relates to our area and our communities. I think the message got through other testimonies as well, and that industry partnership, the industry partnership became part of the line item budget. So, for the state, so, good things happen when you have a lot of people around you supporting folks at the WIB. And I can't say enough there. Trina Moss, folks at the career leagues. All over the place I look, I get professional people, constantly supporting, encouraging, and driving, the message of being sensitive to people, making things work for our folks. So I appreciate that, but I'm accepting this award on behalf of all the great people that are around me. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
We've already met some of the members of the board, but I'd like to introduce the board members formally. And as I call your name, please stand up. We met the officers for 2012. And also in the audience, we have many of the past presidents. And I'd like to acknowledge them first. Martha Heron. Chris Sandy. Frank Cullen. Thomas Coons. We have Tom Mahedi as well here. And Virginia Sheng. Well, this event and so many other events done by MEA would not be possible without this wonderful team of people who constitute the group that we are here to celebrate as well. And I'd like to introduce the team for MEA. And first of all, the president, Darlene Robbins. Christine Robbins, who is the director of training and development. Gina Whalen, director of community. Susan Brown, who is the financial director. Joni Proust Truard, Nancy McCluskey. In addition to the NAEA, we've also heard about the council, the Manufacturers and Employers Council, and we'd also like to acknowledge their staff, Courtney Fassner, Matt Shuey, who's the Director of Workforce Development as well. And there's a few other people who are not here today who I would just like to acknowledge the name. Maureen Grant, who is the Human Resource Specialist. Nathan Andrews, who's a Process Improvement and IT Specialist. Harry Reed, Loss Prevention Specialist. And Steve Baer, who's an Occupational Safety and Health Specialist. Many of these folks you have met because they have come for training to your facilities, or if they have not, you're welcome to invite them to do so.
Okay, thank you. A few comments about highlights for the 2011-2012 at the Manufacturers and Employers Association and Council. First, let me begin by highlighting attendance for training, roundtables, and events. In 2011, we held over 3,200 attendees. New trainings offered were 15 new, and we offered 41 Human Resource Certificate Institute approved courses, with offering a total of over 130 training programs in 2011. We continue to be the leader in offering valuable benchmarking data. Our regional and national surveys provide our members with specific wage and salary data, as well as pay trends adjustment data. We have seen an increase in over 34% of participation just this last year. In addition to offering required employment law posters for all 50 states, so we do service all of your satellite facilities and your corporates, we now offer policy safety posters, all of which are available in Spanish. Our association ended the year with 18 new members, and the YES program, which began in Schuylkill County in 2006 and expanded to Luzerne County in 2008, Erie County in 2010. 2 additional schools began offering the YES Northeast this year, totaling 16 schools at present. Since 2006, we've had a 1,500% increase in the number of schools offering YES, and a 4,336% increase in the number of students enrolled in YES. There are 621 students enrolled in YES presently. The NEPA Career Advantage was introduced in 2008. Since then, the council has held 3 career fairs with approximately 2,400 students attending from grades 7 through 12. The 4th annual Schuylkill County Career Fair is being held May 1st, 2012. The MAEC, our council, is also assisting 2 elementary schools in helping coordinate career awareness events this spring. The NEPA Career Advantage also consists of Administrator in the Workplace, internship placements, the Youth Employment Register, and the YES Northeast Workshop Series, which is a customized version of the YES Northeast curriculum offered to out-of-school youth enrolled in the GED classes. Last but certainly not least, in 2007, we offered our Energy Roundtable, and from member company request, we have available innovative solutions yielding reliable savings working with our energy consultant, J3 Energy Group. We offer currently to 44 member locations, joint electric purchasing, turnkey high-efficiency lighting solutions, PJM demand response programs, solar PV generation solutions, and combined heat and power, the CHP solutions. In 2009, we had a $230,000 savings for MAEA members. In 2010, we had a $2.3 million savings, which was a 1,000% increase. I'm into percentages, if you couldn't tell, return on investment. And just recently, we have given a preview on our new MAEA Group Energy Program for small consumers. But as of December 31st, 2011, our aggregate electricity savings realized under the MAEA's Group Energy Program has exceeded $7.6 million for our members. So that has been truly a successful program, and I know it's helped our companies. And believe me, when I say that not only myself, but Dave Taylor, we take this message to Harrisburg, that we need to cut the cost of businesses to stay, expand, and continue to create jobs in this great Commonwealth. Thank you all.